Order, order. Rehman Chishti to move the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that this House has considered government support for Pakistan. I thank you for this opportunity as Chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Pakistan to discuss the government support for Pakistan, a country that has long and deep historic ties with the United Kingdom. At the outset, I want to say that our thoughts are with those affected in yesterday's earthquake affecting Pakistan, Afghanistan, and parts of India. In 2005 earthquake in Kashmir, I lost 25 relatives, including my grandfather. I know the amazing support UK provided then, and I ask that all that can be done to help Pakistan at this difficult point should be done by the United Kingdom. There are over 1 million people with Pakistani background in the United Kingdom, the second largest ethnic minority group, and many continue to contribute so much to our country and also retain links with family and friends in Pakistan. Pakistan has come a long way in its relatively brief 68-year history, passing an important milestone in 2013 with the first peaceful democratic transition from one government to another. There is real conviction that a resilient UK-Pakistan relationship is vital to regional and global peace and security. By working together and with key international partners, this helps address evolving threats in South Asia. Pakistan has the will, the determination, and the commitment at every level to be a progressive, strong, democratic country at the heart of the international community. Touching on specifically security, as a country on the front line on the war on terror, Pakistan has faced major challenges and brutal attacks, such as the horrific massacre at the Army Public School in Peshawar, which sadly saw the Honourable Gentleman wants me to give way, and of course I give way to him.
Thank you very much for allowing me to intervene in very early in your debate, and also congratulate you for securing this debate and discussion this morning, which is very important in view of the relationship, historical and cultural relationship Britain and Pakistan have. Though Pakistan is there only for 68 years, but the development has taken. And I think what is happening now due to the earthquakes and other issues to bring peace and bring more prosperity in that area, and also working closely with the diaspora, British government have a responsibility to look into those issues and work together with the diasporas here and also the government of Pakistan.
I thank the Honourable Gentleman in relation to his remarks. I know he has always been a strong friend of Pakistan and wanting to build, the excellent relationship between our two countries, and, he often highlights the important role played by the diaspora, and of course it's right. The United Kingdom has a huge role to play in ensuring that there is prosperity throughout the region in South Asia and stability and security by working with all countries, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, China. With all, it has a significant role to play in that respect. Mr. Chairman, I was touching upon the horrific attack that took place in Peshawar, which sadly saw the loss of life of 134 children. But after many years of attacks, which have resulted in the deaths of more than 47,000 civilian lives and 5,000 armed forces personnel in terrorist-related violence in the last decade, reports show that over the past 9 months, major terrorist attacks have declined 70%. The UK has always stood shoulder to shoulder with those tackling terrorism and has always been a strong ally of Pakistan. As the Prime Minister said, in this battle, the friends of Pakistan are friends of Britain. The enemies of Pakistan are the enemies of Britain. Domestically, Pakistan's main threat emanates from terrorism and extremism, which has direct linkage with external factors, such as the conflict in Afghanistan, unresolved Kashmir dispute, and increasing chaos in the Middle East. Of course, I give way to the Honourable Gentleman.
I'm very grateful to the Honourable Gentleman for giving way and equally for securing such an important debate. As he quite rightly points out, we have over 1 million people of Pakistani origin in this country, and this debate will be very important for them. I join him also in my thoughts and prayers are with those that have tragically lost their lives in the earthquake in India, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Does he agree with me that there remains an outstanding issue in that region which in some ways is a barrier to peace and prosperity, and that namely is the region of Kashmir? Does he agree that there needs to be a peaceful solution to allow the sons and daughters of Kashmir the right to self-determination, and that would he call on the government to encourage both Pakistan and India to have those peaceful roundtable discussions to promote that?
I thank the honourable gentleman for his remarks, and also I pay tribute to him for the brilliant work he does in building the relationship between our two great countries and all he does in his constituency with his large Pakistani diaspora. He touches on a very important point, and if I may touch on that directly, he talks about the issue of Kashmir, but no doubt the Minister is aware, so is all concerned about the United Nations Resolution number 47 of April 1948, which says that the people of Kashmir should be given a right to self-determination to determine their own destiny. And the point he makes is this. It was highlighted at the United Nations, accepted in a resolution, which states, considering that the continuation of the dispute is likely to endanger international peace and security. So on that very point, what I would say is, yes, of course, people say there needs to be bilateral talks between India and Pakistan. But as we have seen in the last year, the foreign secretary to foreign secretary talks have collapsed, where the Indian authorities have withdrawn from those talks. For talks to continue, there needs to be two willing parties to that. As at the moment, there is no constructive way forward bilaterally, he is right to say that the international community, both the United States and the United Kingdom, have a moral obligation to peace and stability in the region to do all they can to assist in this long-drawn issue. And by way of a declaration, Mr. Chairman, I was born in Kashmir, so I would wait the time for plebiscite to have my say whenever that comes, but I think the international community has a moral obligation in that respect. I would give way, yes, of course, briefly.
Thank you very much, and I thank him also for his very thoughtful response. Can I also ask him to comment on the continued breaches and the continued violations of human rights in that region, as well as reported by many international human rights organisations? And will he join me in asking the government that perhaps is an even more pressing issue at the minute, and those human rights violations in that region must end, and the international community must do more to assist in that?
I think the honourable gentleman is absolutely right when he talks about the respect for rule of law, human rights. Both countries are signatories to the United Nations Convention on Civil and Political Rights. So on that basis, I think everything needs to be done to ensure that people's basic human rights are respected wherever they occur. I'm going to touch on that a bit later on, but I'm more than happy to come back on that in due course at that very point. In essence, Mr. Chairman, it is said that the UK's supply of advanced conventional armament to India has the potential to aggravate the already growing asymmetry between India and Pakistan, which will lead to lowering of nuclear threshold. Some in Pakistan consider the UK nuclear stance with Pakistan to be unfair, whereby UK supports India's entry into the NSG and perceived pro-India stance on MTCR, not only undermine Pak-UK bilateral relations, but also forces Pakistan to adopt measures in a nuclear domain which it considers to be in its national interest, but which may be contrary to UK's aspiration within the international nuclear paradigm. UK-Pakistan defence relation is strong, but not regarded as strategic. A move in this direction could develop even stronger relationships. Touching on the point of demographics, one of the biggest challenges and also the largest opportunity is Pakistan's growing and young population, which is projected by the UN to increase to more than 300 million by 2050. But there is an opportunity to reap this demographic dividend, and Pakistan could be the next South Korea by 2050. According to The Economist, Jim O'Neill, Pakistan has the potential to become the world's 18th largest economy by 2050, almost the same size as the current German economy. Touching on trade, Lord Moore, the UK Minister for Trade and Investment, said in the House of Lords in June 2015 that Pakistan presents too big an opportunity to miss. Pakistan has one of the world's fastest growing middle classes, which constitutes 55% of the total population. In the past 3 years, consumer spending in Pakistan has increased at an average of 26% compared to 7.7% in Asia. This increase in consumption-driven demand presents an opportunity for British brands to introduce their product and services in the market, as demonstrated by the success of Debenhams. Its strong relationship with the EU and the US through the GSP Plus programme, strongly supported by the UK, is a significant boost to Pakistan's exports. After Pakistan was awarded this status by the EU, exports have increased 21%, and the total of UK-Pakistan trade has increased by 15% over 2013 and 2014. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, in particular, has seen 51 agreements signed, totaling 45.6 billion signed in 2014, in one of China's largest overseas investments. The projects that will follow can be given vital assistance by British companies through providing services and expertise to help maximise the benefits of these mega projects. Encouraged by this, and in recognition of its performance as one of the best performing frontier capital markets, Pakistan's credit rating was upgraded this year by Moody's for the first time since 2008. The UK Export Finance Fund has been revised in order to support the work of publicly managed projects, while the overall size of the fund has increased from 200 million to 300 million. Touching on the need to reform blasphemy laws and human rights, while there is an appetite from the UK to do more business, there are mutual obligations and moral imperative for Pakistan to reform, including improving the legal process, privatisation, taxation reform, dealing with corruption, where Pakistan is rated as 127 of 177 on the corruption index. Pakistan's controversial and often abused blasphemy laws hinders the country's If I finish this sentence, and of course I give way to her, hinders the country's international standing, which expects countries to respect citizens, human rights and religious freedom. Of course I give way.
I thank the Honourable Gentleman for giving way, and he's right to talk about the issue of the human rights and the blasphemy laws. But would you agree with me that our government should also be looking at the human rights issues in the rest of South Asia as well? For example, in India, there's been a surge in the last year or two of quite a lot of breaches of sectarian violence. Yeah. And it's been often linked with the rise of Hindu nationalism or fascism, whatever you want to call it. And Burma as well, there's been killing of Rohingya Muslims as well. So do you think it's appropriate that our government should also look at those countries and their human rights record?
I thank the Honourable Lady for her remarks, and also I pay tribute to her for the brilliant work that she does in relation to promoting our relationship between Pakistan and the United Kingdom. And it was a real pleasure to be on a British Council delegation to Pakistan with her. But to touching the point she's made on human rights, I think she's probably read the article I've read, and I urge the Minister to read. It's the Times of India, dated the May the 1st, 2015, US panel Minorities Under Attack in India, and that highlights the issues of human rights situation concerning minorities in India in detail. And that is an independent think tank on religious freedom, which reports to the United States President Barack Obama, highlighting a number of those points. But linked to that, whether it's in Burma with the Rohingya community, whether it's with China, wherever it is, the point I made at the Queen's opening speech on foreign policy abroad, I made it clear to the Shadow Foreign Secretary, who gave me way to say human rights should be a key part of our foreign policy wherever it occurs, and it's the point I made to the Honourable Gentleman earlier, to say human rights, wherever they are, whoever they are with, should be respected by all, and we should do everything we can to ensure that countries respect basic human rights and religious freedoms. I've often spoken about the need to reform these blasphemy laws, and last year I wrote a letter signed by 54 members of Parliament to Prime Minister Sharif and the Chief Justice raising concerns over the Asha Bibi case, a Christian mother of 5 sentenced to death, and I'm pleased to say that in July the Pakistan Supreme Court announced a stay of execution, but there's still much more to do to secure her release. Over the summer, and the Honourable Lady for Bolton, who was on the cross-party delegation with me, we visited Pakistan, we met senior government officials, we discussed the need to reform blasphemy laws, the issue of minority rights, and I'm fair to say we sensed a real desire by those senior officials to look at reforming these laws, because often these laws are abused which target Muslims themselves as well as minorities. If it's brief, I would give way. Of course I give way.
Just to concur with what you were saying about raising the issue of blasphemy, I remember we were meeting with the Chief Minister of Pakistan and raising this matter with him about the blasphemy laws and the issue of Asha Bibi.
I'm grateful to the Honourable Lady for that. Not only did she raise the issue, she actually in that meeting provided alternatives of how abuse can be curtailed. And I fully support what she said in relation to what can be done to reforming this and the role, whether it's these cases being dealt with at the High Court rather than low court, whether you have special prosecutors or special judges. Those are the discussions that took place at every level, and I thank her for her expertise and contributions on that. If I may move on, Mr. Chairman, to the role of the British Council. The delegation to Pakistan had the opportunity to learn more about the British Council's excellent work, and members of the trip visited Islamabad and Lahore and saw some of the British Council's projects in action, including Take a Child to School project and English in Punjab, which aims to train 300,000 teachers. The British Council in Pakistan works in all 4 provinces and has built a network that has the scale, skills and influence to deliver transformational change. The Council aims to expand its presence and reach tens of millions of people across the entire country. It will do this by reopening its libraries, improving life chances and community engagement through citizenship and support, empowering women and girls, strengthening skills and expertise in English, and by strengthening UK-Pakistan partnership in higher education, science and creative industry. If I may briefly touch on the issue of DFID before I put specific questions to the Minister. DFID is this year investing some 320 million in Pakistan in one of its largest programs. Pakistan was DFID's 3rd largest bilateral program in 2014 and 15. And if progress continues, it could become DFID's largest program in 2015 and 2016. And as an international development donor to Pakistan, the UK's greatest priorities are education, women and children, creating jobs and supporting economic growth and strengthening democracy and governance, and building peace and stability in conflict-affected areas, and humanitarian assistance by providing life-saving support to people affected by conflict and natural disasters. There are ways we can further our relationship with Pakistan, and in particular, I would like the Minister to consider the following as I finish my remarks. 1, can the Minister ensure that every assistance is offered to Pakistan in light of the earthquake, so that everything that can be done is being done to assist the country at this difficult hour? There is a clear relationship between the number of direct flights to a country and an increase in trade. However, since 2008, British Airways has suspended its 6 weekly Heathrow flights. Can the Minister look at this? 3, the government's travel advice has been raised as an issue. Can the Minister look at this and what the process is for reviewing this in line with improving security situation in Pakistan? The government has a target of increasing bilateral trade to 3 billion by 2015. Can the Minister present an update on plans to increase trade relations, including plans of trade delegations to Pakistan? With a bulk of trade focused on the goods sector, what can the Minister say about the scope to develop trade links across the service sector? Around 10,000 Pakistani students are studying in the UK. However, changes to student visa has been raised when we visited Pakistan on delegation. Can the Minister provide an update on that? Relating to security, Pakistan is on the front line of the battle with terrorism and would appreciate assistance through GSM intelligence gathering and technology such as biometric scanners and night goggles to monitor the Afghan border more effectively. On the specific points for the Minister, my last point to the Minister is this. President Obama, in a recent joint statement with Prime Minister Sharif, said as one of the largest Muslim democracies in the world, US engagement with Pakistan should be comprehensive, multidimensional, to reflect the global challenges of the 21st century. Is this what the United Kingdom is trying to achieve with Pakistan in its long strategic relationship with the country? And in conclusion, Mr. Chairman, I say this. Pakistan still has many challenges, but is determined to become a safe and prosperous nation at the heart of the international community. With our mutual shared history, very large Pakistani origin diaspora, a deep, strong, multi-dimensional relationship based on mutual trust, respect and understanding, our relationship can go from strength to strength in working together to tackle global challenges facing the international community. And I know the Minister has recently visited Karachi and has seen the many opportunities the country offers, and I thank him for the brilliant work he does in building our two countries' excellent relationship, and I look forward to hearing from the Minister on this.
The question is that this House has considered government support for Pakistan. The Minister will have to speak quickly.
Well, Mr. Davis, thank you very much indeed. And it's a real pleasure to respond to this debate. And can I firstly congratulate my honourable friend for Gillingham and Rehman for securing this debate. He spoke with such passion, such flair, such understanding and expertise on this matter and in such detail that he's managed to give me limited time in which actually to respond, but such is his enthusiasm for making sure these matters are discussed in the House. It's fully understandable that he perhaps eaten into a little bit of my reply time. But if I may, I will do my best to respond to some of the matters that he's raised. And as usual, I will write to him in the normal manner if there are areas that I'm not able, Mr. Davis, to reply to now. But certainly, I commend his work that he's done in the House and indeed on other honourable members as well. He began, as I should as well, in offering condolences to all those affected and our understanding and sympathies for those caught up in the horrific earthquake that has taken place in Afghanistan, but obviously rippled right across the region itself. He asked, what is Britain doing? Naturally, we stand ready to support. We've had no formal request yet, but certainly we stand by to help our friend and ally. He also mentioned the important role of the diaspora in this country, the enormous diaspora we have, that it strengthens our cultural relationships and understanding of our country. Very, very important indeed. And I'm pleased that he also paid tribute to the British Council, not least the recent delegation that I had the opportunity to meet recently on their own visit to the country itself. Very proud of meeting British Council representatives on my recent visit to the country and to hear about the work that they're doing, again, in strengthening this important bilateral relationship. I not only had the opportunity to visit Karachi, but also Islamabad last month, and I saw firsthand how Britain is working very closely indeed on three key areas, that of security, which was raised by my honourable friend, on the economy and on governance. So if I may, before trying to answer his questions in the time available, I will just cover some thoughts on those three key areas. Firstly, on security, across Pakistan, as my honourable friend has implied, security has improved dramatically. There really was an understanding of almost like a wake-up call following that disastrous attack killing so many children in the Peshawar public school. And the British government is very much playing our part. We are training Pakistani police. We are working with promoting work on prosecutors and the judiciary to investigate, prosecute and sentence terrorist subjects in line with international human rights standards. And we've made an awful lot of progress, and I hope that continues. On the economy, that improved security is actually helping drive economic growth. It's making the country more attractive. And the IMF program has helped stabilize the economy since the fiscal and balance payments crisis of 2 years ago. But more is needed if we are to increase the growth of the country to the 7 to 8% needed to reduce poverty. So we continue to encourage Pakistan to address the energy crisis, tackle corruption, and undertake further privatizations, which I think are needed to boost the economy. And we are supporting businesses wanting to trade more with Pakistan, whether it's to do with energy, to infrastructure, and other opportunities are very, very clear as I discovered on my visit as well. And I hope to return to Pakistan in the near future with my own trade delegation, so we can, not least with Karachi itself, and indeed I've invited and encouraged the London Mayor, who's obviously familiar with working with mega cities, to also provide assistance in making sure Karachi very much works towards being that gateway to the region itself. On the governance side, you cannot sustain the advances made in security and prosperity without good governance, and democracy in Pakistan has shallow roots, as we heard. So we are helping to build on that, sharing our experience to cement accountable governance, credible elections, and civilian transitions. And the Department of International Development, which you mentioned a number of times, has one of the largest bilateral aid programs. It's helping Pakistan government improve on healthcare and education and the provision of humanitarian assistance. The UK aid has benefited over 6 million primary school children and ensured over 1 million more births, involved medical professionals, and helped over 4 million flood victims as well. He mentioned Kashmir. This is obviously a very sensitive subject. It's been our long-standing position, as I think he's familiar with, in the UK, that it is for India and Pakistan to find a lasting solution to the situation in Kashmir, which takes into account the wishes of the Kashmiri people. And it's not for the UK to prescribe a solution or indeed to mediate. But we very much encourage both sides to maintain a positive dialogue and to work towards a solution. In the time limited, he ran off a series of questions. I'll try and answer them as best. As I mentioned, on the earthquake, we stand ready to support. British Airways, we will continue to having discussions with them. It is now ripe for further for those flights to be reviewed and be reinstalled, and I hope that will actually be the case pending the security requirements that the airline require, and we require as well. Travel advice, we want to make this as trouble-free as possible. There's over 1 million visits, actual movements every single year. There is a requirement occasionally for us to review travel advice to specific areas, and we're quite careful that we make sure that we articulate that on our travel advice on our website. Bilateral trade, we have this target of £3 billion. I hope we can persevere towards that. He's right to emphasise the fact that the British government now underwrites and guarantees business opportunities moving from 200 million to 300 million, which I think is excellent news and an indication of how we want to meet that target, but also encourage businesses that are there ready to grow, but new businesses also to consider Pakistan as a place to open up and do business as well. He mentioned the 70th anniversary, 2017. Very much hope this is something that we can work towards. Wise to flag this up now so we can make sure that we are able to mark that important landmark in Pakistan's history. On the visa side, again, he will be aware of the robust requirement for us to have a thorough visa system in place, but we want to make sure that we're able to track the brightest and best students from around the world to make sure that they are able to come here onto legitimate courses. And so we very much want to work with Pakistan on that front. On the terrorism side, I hear what he says about the requests. We certainly will look at that. We have a very strong relationship, which is growing ever stronger in helping them on counter-terrorism. But certainly there is much, as he says. He spoke of the need to, or the opportunities of this country growing and being the new South Korea of the future himself. I have 30 seconds left, so I hope it's short.
High Commissioner of Pakistan to our debate today, and the brilliant work he does in building our relationship between our two countries.
That intervention was absolutely deserved, and I look forward, in fact, to meeting the High Commissioner in the very, very near future. I think either today or tomorrow we have a meeting planned. We've also had the opportunity to meet. Mr. Davis, I think this has been a short debate, but it has able to articulate the importance of this bilateral relationship and the opportunities that are presented for us to work together on security, on the economy, and on governance as well. Thank you very much indeed.
Order, order. The sitting is suspended until 2:30. Thank you.